News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Among 10 new COVID deaths reported today in Utah are 2 Box Elder County residents, a man and woman who are both between 65 and 84 years of age. There have been 4,336 coronavirus deaths in Utah, 221 of them in Cache, Box Elder, and Rich counties. The Utah Department of Health today reported 1,392 had tested positive for COVID-19 since Tuesday, which is close to the state's new rolling 7-day average for positive tests at 1,296 a day. Total positive cases in Utah during the pandemic now number 916,191. In Cache, Box Elder, and Ridge counties, 87 new COVID cases were reported since Tuesday, and the district's per-day average for cases the last 7 days was 78. The district's total case count grew to almost 51,000, and within the district, nearly 2,000 people have been hospitalized over the course of the pandemic. Currently, 58% of the population in Utah's 3 northern counties are fully vaccinated. Almost 253,000 vaccine doses have been administered in the district. A 35-year-old man died after a ski collision at Snow Basin Resort. Officials with the Morgan County Sheriff's Office said the man was on the mountain during a work party last Friday when they received reports of the collision at around 2:30 p.m. Snow Basin EMTs responded first with life-saving measures for 30 minutes, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. Following Tuesday's visit to formerly homeless residents of Pamela's Place, a permanent supportive housing apartment complex, Governor Cox encouraged Utahns to give to the Pamela Atkinson Homeless Trust Fund on their 2021 Utah state tax forms. Donations can also easily be made online at jobs.utah.gov/HTF. The governor also assisted community advocate Pamela Atkinson in delivering book donations to the residents. Pamela's Place is one of many organizations statewide that receive funding from Pamela Atkinson Homeless Trust Fund to assist Utahns in moving out of homelessness. Pamela's Place is a permanent supportive housing complex with 100 units developed by the Housing Authority of Salt Lake City in 2020. Cox noted that each night, roughly 3,500 Utahns are experiencing homelessness. KBNU Weather is brought to you by Berenson Caldwell. If you've been in an accident, contact Berenson Caldwell for professional legal advice. Visit BerensonLaw.com to instantly connect and receive a free case review of your injury. BerensonLaw.com. Mostly cloudy this evening, then clearing, low near 10, partly cloudy, becoming mostly sunny on Thursday, around 30 for the high, mid-30s on Friday. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
A building is just a building until it's your building. It's where you work, where you create, and where you store your valuable equipment. You take pride in your building, so make sure it's built right and built to last. Northern Steel Buildings will guide you from concept to construction. For your commercial, agricultural, or industrial steel building, visit northernsteelbuilding.com to see their quality work or call 435-677-7300. Northern Steel Buildings. Value from concept to construction.
Local Talk. Afternoons at 4 with For the People.
Hi there, Congressman Blake Moore here. My team and I have been starting 2022 off strong, working on issues that matter most to you and meeting with folks across the 1st District. It's an honor to represent you in Congress. Please join me for one of my public, in-person town halls in Weber and Davis counties this Wednesday. On Wednesday, February 16th at 6 p.m., I will be in Davis County at South Clearfield Elementary, and at 8 p.m., I will be in Weber County at West Haven City Hall. We'll talk inflation, immigration, housing affordability, Hill Air Force Base, federal spending, and anything else you'd like. Please join us in Weber or Davis counties on February 16th and visit my website at www.blakemore.house.gov for more information. Be sure to sign up for my weekly e-newsletter at that same website and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Rep. Blake Moore. It's a privilege to serve you, and I look forward to hearing from you in Weber and Davis counties on February 16th. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Pristine wilderness can still be found in the West, where creeks run freely and historic apple trees still bear fruit. Maple Creek Ranch features breathtaking canyon views and opportunities for real estate development. 2.5-acre lots are now available with adjacent wilderness areas that provide endless riding and recreational possibilities. So find your piece of paradise just 35 minutes from Logan at Maple Creek Ranch. Schedule your appointment online at maplecreekranch.net.
We're talking with Jeff at Daryl's Appliance. Why does Northern Utah choose Daryl's when they need to repair their appliances?
Our customers trust us to get the job done right. We have been repairing appliances for over 52 years. We also have our Under One Roof loyalty program where we discount the trip charge when you decide to buy new instead of the repair. Plus, our service calls and parts are guaranteed. Daryl's West on Airport Road, open till 6 p.m. on weekdays and 5 on Saturdays.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 a.m. at 102 FM.
The KVNU's For the People, hour one of today's show, Wednesday, February 16th. We have a packed show today and a lot to talk about, and that's an understatement, really. It is just amazing what's going on throughout Cache Valley and in Logan City specifically. And we have two folks joining us here today to talk about exactly that. In hour two, we'll be joined by Cache County Executive David Zook with an update and a preview of county planned construction for the, looking at the weather, they may be able to start a little early on that. That's coming up in hour two. Here in hour one, we're kicking things off with our monthly installment of Speak to the Mayor with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines joining us here in the studio. And Mayor Daines, appreciate your time. It's big state of the city address last night we can talk about. And, all you have to do is drive through Logan City right now and glance out the windows at a stoplight or something like that. And it seems like there's something happening almost everywhere.
There is a lot going on, and I apologized for the length of my State of the City address last night, but I kept saying there's been so much to cover. It was a snapshot of what we have accomplished in the past year, as well as, some of our goals to come for the next year, and there's a lot happening.
It is. It really, and I always feel like I have to preface this so people don't think I'm have some kind of bias with city decisions. I'm not a Logan City resident, but for all of us in Cache Valley, Logan City is a part of our lives on a daily basis, one way or another, even if you're just traveling through to work. And it seems like a lot of things that have been talked about and discussed and debated and almost happened but then not over the last 10, 15 years you can actually see these projects coming together and being finalized. And the obvious, the most prominent right now is right there as you head down Main Street to the center block area, seeing that Emporium building is finally gone. It's it doesn't look very nice right now, of course. It's a big hole.
It's a pile of debris right now.
But you can see that space opened up, and you can see what the finished product is going to look like there with that plaza. And that's been, I don't remember a time when we weren't talking about that. And now it's done.
At least the demolition, like I say, they still have to haul away, but we anticipate construction beginning on the new plaza and the stage and everything that goes with that in May. And we hope to be ice skating by Christmas if the schedule stays on track. But can't you just see the views will be beautiful sitting in that plaza.
You can. You can see, with that building gone, you can see, even driving by, you can see what that final vision is for that center block area. And it has to feel a bit this way for you as well. You've spent years and years on the city council, so you've, of course, touched on these subjects, debated these subjects, made decisions on these subjects as a city council member, and now as mayor of Logan City. Does it feel, is there a bit of, a sigh of relief for you on some of these projects happening?
There really was when I went over and watched that great big huge track hose start to whack. It's like, wow, as a team we've really accomplished this. And I was on the city council back when we bought the Emporium, and I don't know if you remember the history. It was vacant for a couple of years. It was after the copper mill closed down, and there was really nothing happening there. And at that time we were considering it for a library, but I said at the time, no matter what happens there, that is the heart and soul of our downtown. It's the center of our downtown, and we want to have a say in what happens there. And again, various things had been discussed over the years, but I'm really excited about this plaza project that will be a gathering place and make our downtown more walkable and friendly. And again, as we've also solved the library problem too, not at that site, but
just up the block.
Up the block. We're doing demolition on that old building, and it will be rebuilt on the site. It will go all the way to the corner of 300 North. And because we're going up 3 stories, we'll have adequate space, and then we'll also have room for additional parking and for additional plaza space. So it's a win-win. Bids on that should be opened next week, so we're all a little bit on pins and needles. Again, you try and anticipate. It's been a crazy time for construction the last year and a half, and that's really been
valley-wide.
Everywhere. And that's really been the time period that we've been working with the architects on the design and going through all those iterations and refining. And again, we have a CMGC, which is a construction manager general contractor that is essentially our advocate in building this. So they'll bid it, but also working all the way through with the architects. Every time the architects do a new set of plans, we essentially do a new set of bids just to make sure that we're staying within our budget, because we can't have cost overruns. We have a set amount that has been allocated and approved, and there's been a couple of times. There was at one point we kind of had to go back and do a redo and redesign a little bit to get back to our appropriate budget numbers. But I think we're there. We've picked out the interior finishings. We still haven't decided on the exact brick color. That we're still going back and forth on. But the library is, like I say, it's underway. The demolition is happening. It is.
And quickly I saw a fence go up a few days ago, and then today I noticed there's some demolition already happening. And the city, you touched on this during the State of the City address last night, and I'm curious if you happen to have a total dollar amount in the end, but the city got pretty creative about this, and you used the word partnerships. From the Center Block project, I think as the primary example, there were a lot of donations made, community support from various foundations, and that helped, as I understand it, to offset some of the unexpecteds, right? The changes in construction prices and that. Do you have a dollar amount? Did you ever do the full math on that?
I did.
It's in the millions, right?
Yes. The Plaza project overall is $4.3 million. Now, the Plaza 45 redoing the outside is a different one, but we're actually preparing to sell those buildings to a private entity, so they can do the inside remodel, the tenant improvements, put a restaurant in. But
I did see the proposal posted there on loganutah.org for those interested. But.
So we're looking forward to seeing what ideas people have to utilize that space. But the plaza itself is about a $4.3 million project, and we raised $2,150,000. So essentially half of the value for this public plaza came from private funding. So we're so fortunate to have generous people in our community and other foundations that were willing to take a look at the project and say, this is a great thing for downtown. We'd like to help you. So,
and I think that shows as well the interest in downtown. It wasn't always the case. I know for the longest time, Salt Lake City, much larger city, of course, but and dealing with whole different costs and revenue numbers and everything. But they went through a similar thing where there was a time when everyone wanted a downtown mall. There was a time when everyone was moving out of downtown, and you wanted these retail spaces that were concentrated elsewhere because no one wanted to be downtown. Now we're back to, we're hearing. In fact, Silicon Slopes just had a report on this. Tech workers, quote unquote, which we do have a significant amount of here in Utah, as an example of the workforce. They want to live and work somewhere where they can walk more than drive or even get on a bus, and keeping up with those changes, you have to respond to them, right? You have to do, as a city, the most you can to give people what they want. But it does change and shift, and this has been considered in this plan, right? The idea that this is something that will work for a long time.
It will, and it's a gathering place, and it's usable year-round, again, and it needs to be programmed, so there's activity there. And again, the skating rink will make it fun and interesting all winter, the splash pad and concerts in the summer and the dining on the plaza. And you mentioned the housing, that people want to live downtown.
Sure.
That's been another thing that we've tried to, and we have incentivized it. I think in the next couple of weeks there will be a ribbon cutting for the new Mill Creek housing development there on First South and First West.
They're that far along?
Yes, they are leasing, and if you recall, that was like an old gas station with environmental cleanup issues.
Sure.
And so we helped incentivize that to get it going, and now it looks like they may move into a phase 2, and we can clean up that whole street. And again, there are some things downtown to attract people once they move there, and it uses existing infrastructure. It creates density downtown where, again, you don't necessarily have to have 2 cars. You could... it can be walkable. You're close to services. You're close to employment.
Sure.
So it meets a lot of goals as part of our overall planning. And then the other thing I might mention on Center Street, generally, it has been a great success. But I did have one complaint the other day about, well, why are we spending taxpayer dollars on the flowers? But the interesting thing is that the city, when we talked to the merchants, we said the city will take care of that for the first 2 years. And then we'll need you, business owners, to take that over. And they actually have done that. So, Mark Anderson volunteered to do the maintenance the first year, put all the fertilizer on, just sort of see what it would take and what the costs would be. And now he's spearheaded putting a group of all the owners together. They all agreed to participate to help with the flowers. They've even gone in together on some snow removal as they worked together. And again, it's stimulated the economy. We have more new businesses coming in, businesses remodeling.
Sure.
I don't know the exact sales tax numbers, but I'll bet we're generating more sales tax revenue at that location because it draws more people there. And
as that project is finished, I have to assume, I'm sure you have seen it as mayor and the council have seen perspective or predictions and analysis along those lines. But I would have to assume, just as Joe resident, that when that's finished, you're going to actually see a bit of a boom in businesses wanting to locate in downtown. Is there expansion opportunity outside of what we have right now as far as business locations? Are there places, if that boom comes, where businesses maybe just off a block or something are going to be able to locate nearby? Is that something being discussed now or down the road?
There are always options as properties turn over, as they, are upgraded, as they, sort of move into other uses that are more, more interesting, more productive. But that is one thing that our research shows, this downtown development group that we've utilized a lot of their goals for how to create an effective downtown. Absolutely. Plazas create additional business downtown, and we believe it will continue to help economic development, provide additional tax base. We'll obviously have to see with our particular case, but there are just case study after case study of how these plazas have really helped a downtown area become, basically exciting and interesting again and draw people there.
Just the events alone that would be an option now as this is finished. You can see Charlie Schill and I host every Thursday. We do a theater hour here on the show, and just last week we were talking about those apartments going up to the east of Logan High there, and we talked about what you could do on a weekend if you lived there. What your options would be, where you could walk to, and the types of entertainment weekend nightlife that you'd have access to. And it has, and a lot of people are going to hear this as a pejorative term, but it almost has a bit of a big city feel to it suddenly. But that's what the future holds for downtown, right?
Right. And again, unless we want to keep sprawling out to the valley and driving further and driving more, we do need to create some density for housing. As you know, we have housing shortages, housing affordability issues. And I know one thing the legislature's addressing is, we are building more apartments. And so how do people build the wealth that they do over the long term with actually purchasing? And, I'd love to see them, because right now the developers say we can't make it work. So they're looking at things to say, well, could someone rent for 10 years and then have an option for it to buy it, to turn into condominium? And I'd love to see, the state, with all the efforts they're making to try and deal with affordable housing, to help address that issue. Because there are all sorts of nuances to it. But again, I just think housing downtown in a more dense form, it makes sense.
And it's definitely something there is a huge market for right now. Our guest here in the studio, Logan City Mayor Holly Daines. We're kind of recapping her State of the City address. If you'd like to read the whole thing, I've linked to it on our Facebook page. And we've just barely touched the tip of the iceberg on what was covered in the address and what's going on in Logan City. If you'd like to join us, you're welcome to 753-5868. More of Speak to the Mayor here on For the People right after this.
Hey everyone, this is Ryan at My Mattress. I've been doing mattresses for about 24 years, and I remember a long time ago, one of the vendors came out with a tagline and it said, "Better sleep through science." I loved that idea, so I watched all these vendors. Two of them did it, IntelliBed and Tempur-Pedic. We went after them hard. They're both in our store. IntelliBed, it's gentle to the hip and shoulder, but lifts the lower back. Tempur-Pedic lets you conform into the bed. Better sleep through science, IntelliBed and Tempur-Pedic, only at My Mattress.
When people leave one job for another, they usually take their personal stuff along with them. And yet millions of people still leave their 401k behind. Fortunately, Edward Jones can help you take control of your money. We'll explain your options and, if appropriate, help you roll over your 401k without paying taxes or penalties. To learn more, contact any of the 5 Edward Jones financial advisors in Cache Valley. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Coming up on the Thursday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, the latest in our efforts to return to normalcy, the Canadian trucker protest going strong, plus the Biden administration floundering. What's next? And Clay, what do you got?
It's also the 1-year anniversary of Rush Limbaugh passing, and we are going to bring on his wife, Catherine, to talk about what Rush meant to the show, but also to all of you. That's going to be fantastic. All that and more. It'll be the Thursday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here in the studio with us this hour for Speak to the Mayor. If you have a question or a comment, 753-5868. We've gone over at least a lot of what's happening in City Block, the 3rd North Block. We mentioned briefly, but a lot of changes happening south of downtown Logan as well. And there's a lot coming together in Logan City, and the mayor detailed this during the State of the City address. Have you gotten responses to this? Have there been even maybe council members who have come to you and said, as I did before we started, seeing it all laid out like this, you realize how much is happening, how much has changed already, and where things are headed. Are a lot of light bulbs going on in your perspective?
I did have a few of those comments. People saying, wow, when you put it all together, you realize what a busy year it's been. And again, and I give credit to my council because without their approval of the budgetary items, we wouldn't get there, although we have leveraged a tremendous amount of these projects with grant funds. And I have to hand that to my staff because, that's extra work on their plate. There's not a guarantee that you'll get it, but we have just had a vision that, we have some of these projects. We don't necessarily have the funds right now. How can we be creative and make them happen and, push them over the finish line? I mean, we talked about the grant for the $4.1 million grant for the pedestrian underpass at South Main. And UDOT is actually they've chosen to manage that project since it's under their road. So the bid is out. I think the design bid was just awarded. So I was hoping it would be built this construction season. It looks like design will be this year and then construction next spring. So, things move slowly in government and all the approvals. But once we get the plans done and, the bids in place and, let the contract, they get done. They happen. So that was a big one. The conservation easement of 47 acres along the river, I'm still just tickled about that one. Again, $1 million easement, and the city had to really put out about $10,000 out of pocket with all the grants and things we were able to put together. So and again, we don't yet have the money to put in the trail and, do the improvements along the river, but step one is to get the easement so it's protected in perpetuity for public access. So, well,
and what a key space for that as well.
Exactly, especially as Southwest Logan is growing so much. And as we grow, open space just is really, I think people are realizing the value in that and that we need to protect that, and there is a cost to do that. So, I didn't sign up for 4 more years to just sort of sit around and do nothing, but...
That's... along those lines, there has been so much happening, and as we've discussed already, I'm sure a big chunk of this is your experience with the city council, knowing many of these projects intimately already coming in. But you are just entering your second term here as mayor, and I assume there's no plan to just sit back now and say, okay.
No.
How do you keep things churning? And you mentioned, like work for your staff and things like that, keeping people from burning out with all this going on. Is there a secret? Is there a key to keeping all these plates spinning?
I always tell my employees how much citywide, all 450, how much I appreciate them. And right, I can sit in my office all day and some things will get done, but without them, a lot of what needs to happen every day, just to benefit the city is in their court, and they do a great job. I think my employees and the executive team and the council, I think they're just excited to see some of these things happen. Sometimes you just have to make a decision that, you're never going to make everybody happy, but overall it's going to be a good project. You have the support of the council, you have the funding, and we're going to go ahead and just do it. That's just kind of my nature. I'm a doer. So
there's a lot getting done. It really is impressive to see. And again, in the State of the City address, to see it laid out like that, you get a scope or an idea of the scope of all this. We do have a caller on the line with a question for you. And Mitch, news break to get to here, but go ahead. Your question for the mayor?
Yeah, this one involves some of us that actually don't live in Logan, but we kind of commute in and stuff. I know Valley View Highway's been kind of a mess for the last little while. Any idea what's going to happen with trying to make some changes there? I know something weird is happening with the Union Pacific, and I don't know details, though.
It's a great question, Mitch. Thank you.
It is, and that actually is probably a better question for David Zook, who is coming on board the next hour.
That's right.
But again, that construction, they're getting close to starting on that, I believe, and then they'll be widening parts of that to make some passing lanes, to make some shoulders. So, if there is an accident or problem, there's a way to get off, and that because right now, there's an accident, you're right there in the lane of traffic.
Sure.
There will be some bike lanes on that, separated bike lanes from Logan out to Mendon, which will be kind of exciting.
I admire people that can pedal that far.
I know, I do too. But going back to the railroad issue, yes, we need to, at 6 West, we have had problems with the railroad. I mean, on 1400 North, we did that great big, $2 million improvement to that intersection, put a stoplight in, had everything go from the railroad, and then they tried to sneak a paragraph in the contract at the last minute to make us pay unreasonable maintenance fees that they could raise any time with no cap. So we got into litigation with the railroad, and as we've tried to get UDOT involved to help us, we've learned other communities have had the same problem. And so there actually is a bill at the legislature. It passed out of the House Transportation Committee. Representative Johnson's helped us. It's sponsored by Representative Schultz to just try and turn the maintenance of these crossings over to UDOT, which we're happy to work with someone local that's reasonable. I mean, right now everything goes through Omaha. It takes
months, right?
Oh,
with
years.
Union
No,
Pacific.
years. I am
Years?
literally years. I mean, and then there was just a hearing in the Senate Business and Labor Committee. Again, they passed the resolution out favorably. So I'm cautiously optimistic that the legislature will actually adopt some rules that will then create, will basically force the railroad to have to deal with UDOT, and UDOT can set the maintenance fees. So that would solve a number of issues for us. Again, we need to get a pedestrian crosswalk there at 6 West and 200 North. There's that big new development there. There's children that need to walk to school. It's a safe route to schools, route, and we can't do anything in the right-of-way, but they won't even, again, it's just so frustrating, but we are working on that, and I'm optimistic that the legislature will help us on that one.
That would be nice. UDOT have a bit more weight to throw around than each individual city would have. And great question, though, Mitch. And again, we'll get back to this one with County Executive David Zook in the studio, who has an update actually on planned for next hour on Valley View Highway and how those conversations are going. Right now here in the studio, Logan City Mayor Holly Daines joining us this hour for Speak to the Mayor. If you have questions or comments like Mitch, 753-5868, and we'll be back with more of our time with Mayor Daines here in the studio after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:37, and the news is brought to you by the Duck Hunter. The Friends of the Cache County Children's Justice Center have come up with a great idea for highlighting April, which is Child Abuse Prevention Month. It's called a Facebook Like-a-thon, and on KVNU's For the People program on Tuesday, Karina Brown said it's not a traditional fundraiser for the nonprofit's resource.
The way that it works is that we're asking businesses to sponsor the Like-a-thon. We'll note the number of Facebook likes that the Cache County Children's Justice Center Facebook page has on April 1st, and then the number of likes on April 30th.
Brown said it's to increase awareness first of the Children's Justice Center and the resources that are available, and also on how we can better protect children, how we can prevent abuse, and what we can do in those sad situations where children are abused.
So businesses can sponsor the Like-a-thon by pledging per like with a cap on their donation if desired, and a pledge of any amount is welcome. And the businesses will be featured in a Children's Justice Center Facebook post as well as listed on our Friends Board website.
For more information on the Like-a-thon, go to cachecjc.org/Like-a-thon sponsorship or contact Karina at 435-881-2798. A couple of produce farmers came together, formed a partnership, and applied for a USDA grant to take their produce from the dwindling Fruitway market and truck it to Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. The partnership just received a $250,000 value-added producer grant to be used to provide fresh fruit and vegetables to surrounding states that do not otherwise have access to them. The project is being marketed as locally grown and has roots and locations locations established within a 400-mile radius during the harvest seasons. They want to provide a variety of the famous Box Elder-produced fresh fruits and vegetables to other communities. For years, Old Highway 89 just south of Brigham City has been historically known as Fruit Way. From July to October, local produce stands with fresh fruits and vegetables were sold by local farmers along the highway to people passing through northern Utah, but the once highly profitable produce farms are dwindling. Some are being sold to developers who take the fertile lands and build subdivisions in place of the acres of farm fresh fruit. And a 14-year-old boy has died after a ski collision in Alta. Officials identified the boy today as Henry Kendall. They said the Alta Marshal's Office and Alta Ski Patrol responded just before 10 p.m. Sunday when they were alerted of a ski collision in the Sugarloaf area of the Alta ski resort. Emergency personnel began performing life-saving measures for Kendall, who was unconscious at the scene. He was flown to Primary Children's Medical Center, where officials said he died of his injuries. KBNU News Time is 4:40.
Does your home have that stuffy winter smell? John at the Duct Hunter says it could be your air ducts holding on to dust and other surprises. To get rid of that smell, give John a call at the Duct Hunter. He'll thoroughly clean each duct in every room, not with a shop vac, but with forced air and a vacuum that will make your mom proud. He can even run a camera through your vents to see what's going on. For a free consultation, call the Duct Hunter at 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter.
KBNU weather tonight, mostly cloudy, then clearing. Overnight low around 10, and then partly cloudy, becoming mostly sunny on Thursday around 30. Partly cloudy and then sunny skies on Friday, mid-30s for the high. That's where we've been this afternoon, 35. Right now it's 33 at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry, really the cleanest spot in town with large capacity washers and dryers. They'll have you in and out quicker. 5th East, 9th North in Logan, also 1st East and 7th South in Brigham City. Mount Logan Laundry. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Rochelle Hanks bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of financial advisor Tron Arnold and Edward Jones for Wednesday, February 16th. Retail sales growth jumped to 3.8%, well above the expected 2.1%, and a sign that consumer spending is still healthy and unabated amid rising prices. Consumers continue to prefer goods purchases over services, but that could change, in our view, as new COVID-19 cases plunge and countries begin easing restrictions on the vaccinated. Higher than expected producer price increases and consumer spending all point to an economy that could be overheating with excess liquidity, making its way into every corner of the market, likely giving the Fed more support to hike rates by 50 basis points in March. Inflation is not limited to the United States. In Europe, for example, inflation hit 5.5%, which is the highest it's been in 30 years. The Bank of Canada has already started its interest rate hike cycle amid inflation and soaring housing prices. The global economy is flush with cash after COVID-19 related stimulus aimed at combating the worst economic effects and preventing depression was pumped into the market by governments and central banks. The good news is that the recovery is well on track with solid labor market gains, wage increases, and growing production levels. U.S. equities closed higher today. The Dow closed down 53 points at 34,936. The Nasdaq closed down 16 points at 14,124, and the S&P closed up 4 points at 4,475. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading 2.03% lower. In stocks of local interest, sorry for the pause, the computer was thinking a minute. Thermo Fisher was down $6.32 to $5.50.35. Home Depot was down $3.17 to $3.50.09. Autolead was up $1.04 to $103.18. Lowe's was down $1.09 to $227.01. Walmart is down 84 cents to $133.53. Nucor is up $1.08 to $122.66. Coca-Cola is down 1 cent to $60.90. Kroger was down $1.84 to $44.57. General Electric was up 49 cents to $101.41, and R.R. Donnelley & Sons was flat at $10.78. In commodity markets, the price of crude oil was down $1.21 to $90.86, and the spot price of gold was up $17.50 at $1,873.70. This has been today's financial market report brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Tron Arnold, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 1202 South Highway 89 in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact any of our 7 Edward Jones offices in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
This is Polka. And this is Polka Boosted. Boosted is better. And when it comes to protecting yourself and those around you from COVID-19 and all its variants, it's no different. So if you've been fully vaccinated, don't wait to get boosted. Visit coronavirus.utah.gov today to schedule your booster.
The Best of Northern Utah, presented by Campbell Snacks, home of Pepperidge Farm, is almost here.
Best of Northern Utah.
Starting Wednesday, February 23rd, nominate your favorite businesses at bestofnorthernutah.com. This is the contest every business hopes to win. Last year, nearly 1,000 businesses were nominated. Help us recognize the best local businesses by nominating them at thebestofnorthernutah.com starting February 23rd. Presented by Campbell Snacks, home of Pepperidge Farm.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Speak to the Mayor. This month's installment with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines here in the studio. 753-5868. If you have a question or a comment, feel free to join us. Barring those calls, we've still got plenty to talk about, and I feel bad. You know, we've covered a lot of ground, but I think we're only still about 25% of the way through your State of the City address last night. The point of the State of the City is to give everybody a lay of the land, where things are at, where things are headed, and I love your conclusion last night, because you touched on that, saying, you know, a lot of groundwork has been laid here, and I'm paraphrasing, of course. You're very confident in the future laid out for Logan City, but you also said there's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of challenges to meet.
Exactly, and we're taking those challenges on, every day. Different things and with the growth in our valley, things are not going to stay the same. I mean, we all sort of have this happy valley image, and it's changing, and we can't just slam the gate shut and say no one else comes to the valley. But there's just some great conversations going on at a lot of levels about things we can do to make our valley better, and things the city needs to do for long-term growth and success. And we'll get there. Step by step. Again, we're planning. I mentioned in the address that we have master plans for 2 new, very significant parks. Now, we don't have the money to pay for them yet, but we have master planned 2 big parks, and one is going to be like 150 acres at the landfill site. So, over the years, we've been putting money into a fund and knowing the landfill would eventually be closed. And if you've driven by, you may have noticed they've actually closed a good portion of that landfill already and are continuing to close that. We have the new North Valley landfill that, most things are carried to. We have a little capacity there. But so we worked with the Woodruff neighborhood because it's adjacent to them, and with that that group.
I didn't think about that.
We have some really exciting plans. I mean, so the hope down the road is that the landfill hill will become a mountain bike park.
Oh, wow.
And again, we don't have the money yet, but the first thing you need to do is have the plan, and then that allows you to get some cost estimates, and then you start going over after funding. So we'll start to look at some grant opportunities in the future. And those, it's like the other projects that we finally are seeing come to fruition. A lot of those were 4 years in the process. And so we'll start the process there. We're hoping to do, a big new, dog park there. And this will be such a large area. It will, there'll be regional draws, and we'll tie it into our trail system there that will hopefully connect from Trapper Park and that conservation easement there and continue west. The county master trails plan has that going all the way to Benson Marina, which, again, this is a years-long process. But first you have to put a line on a map or have a vision. And then part of what we'd like to do is build a neighborhood park for those Woodruff neighbors because, they don't have a park with playgrounds for the kids and so on. I mean, we've got a wonderful trail system out there, but they need a neighborhood park for all that new housing development there, and that's kind of our first priority. So we're looking at trying to get that funded, but a lot of the area would be natural area with low water usage because, as we know, we're in a drought and we need to start really thinking about how we're using our water. And one thing that our community development department is bringing to council next month is some potential changes to our ordinance regarding, say, park strips. And, you don't have to put grass in it. There are some other low water options that we're looking at. But
and
again,
the state's considering incentives, right?
They are looking at both some incentives and some requirements. So we're watching that legislation carefully. But it's something we all need to be aware of. And we were really pleased with our citizens last summer when there was a drought. They responded well when we asked them to conserve, and we cut back in our parks. And so we're certainly very aware of that. And a lot of this, 150 acres sounds like a lot, but it will not be all irrigated turf, that's for sure. The dog park, we actually would like to have a dog park with some grass. And so the vision is to have 2 larger areas that then you would alternate. So you'd lock one up for a little while to allow it to kind of, recharge a little bit because dogs are hard on parks. Yeah. And then you could switch to the other side. And then there will also be a small dog area as well as a large dog. But, when you put in a park, you have to have restroom facilities and you have to have parking lots. And those price tags add up. But again, we're looking at that. Part of what we envision down there is a big disc golf area, which, again, we'd leave the natural wetlands, simply put in some trails, wouldn't have to be irrigated, but it could be a big area that people could use to recreate. Also, maybe kind of an adventure play. Again, lots of grand plans. We have to come up with the funding, but we'll work on that. The other one is up in the Foothill neighborhood, or the Lundstrom Park neighborhood. We're calling it the Foothill Nature Park. Again, as part of the agreement we had with the neighbors when we sold that property that was originally going to be cemetery property, and then we did sell some property for development for homes that will go in there. We agreed to create, some open space there. Again, it's not going to be irrigated green turf. We have Lundstrom Park there, but again, we envision some native plants, some walking trails, some, native sagebrush. But even doing things like that, you'd be surprised at the price tag, even when it's, again, not a turf field or, something like that. But so just a little different model, but preserving open space, making it an amenity. Especially down at the landfill, it's like trash to treasure. What greater treasure do you have than park and open space? And again, I see that as a regional amenity. Certainly will.
I've always felt like the views from the landfill, had it not been a landfill, would have been great every time I've been there. So the idea of this being a park, it's a unique opportunity to make use of that, very central, quickly becoming central location in the valley. And it's, as you watch all of this, you mentioned the area where the other park is going to go. That's an area that's pretty landlocked, pretty condensed as far as housing goes. So locking in some open space there is important.
Right.
And Logan City, more than a lot of other cities in the valley, you're up against more challenges in that realm, right? There's not a lot of space in Logan City anymore where everyone's living already, where you can make open space. It's either there or it isn't. So that's a high priority for you to lock some of this up now?
Exactly. We have some neighborhoods, we divide up by the schools and you like to have a certain amount of parkland per resident.
Sure.
And in some areas, like you say, we would love to have, more park or open space that there just isn't any available. So we're doing what we can. And again, as we continue to annex, there will be some properties annexed in, but again, Logan is not going to get a whole lot bigger than it is. So again, I think these are some of the quality of life issues that we have to think about. And, I talked about my 4 goals as mayor, which started out, 4 years ago, and they continue. And the first is to be fiscally responsible. we, again, don't spend money we don't have. We budget carefully. We manage that really wisely. The second is to revitalize downtown. I think it's pretty clear we've worked hard on that goal.
Well underway.
The third is to upgrade aging infrastructure, and we're running out of time, but I could tell you about a lot of everything from transportation infrastructure to water infrastructure to sewer infrastructure. We are doing a lot of projects, and fortunately we've had a good economy, but we've prioritized putting money toward these capital infrastructure projects, and we'll continue to do that. And then my fourth priority is parks and trails, and again, I think I have a pretty good track record on those, and that's what we'll be focused on the next 4 years, too, all four of those.
The trail system. I'll fully confess, I drive to Logan for the trail system, and I think a lot of people do. It's come together, and you can bike a fair distance in Logan now on a lot of those trails, and it's nice.
And one thing we're working on, because our trails have become so popular and e-bikes have become so popular, we've started to realize we need to sort of have some criteria for people that are using the trails.
Sure.
Technically now they're illegal.
For safety.
But we need to establish some speed limits, and if people use them wisely, it's going to work for everybody, especially on the wider trails. So we're starting to, we've got some specific language. I think that's coming to our city council in April in terms of adopting they call it a micro-mobility ordinance, because in addition to e-bikes, it's scooters. It's, what do you call the little boards that are...
I always call them hoverboards, but I think they have a different name now.
Anyway, sorry, I'm not very good on that
I'm not
term.
either.
But, so we continue to... Again, Park City, St. George. A lot of these places allow them, but they also try and say, look, here's a speed limit. Let's be cautious. If you're on an e-bike whipping by a pedestrian too fast, that can create some discomfort. So
sure, dangerous.
Lots of things to keep working on.
Mayor Daines, I appreciate you taking the time to come down and join us for the hour. And for listeners, appreciate your questions that you've sent in. It's a pleasure. If you'd like to read the State of the City address, again, I've linked to the link from Logan City's website on our Facebook page, or you can just visit loganutah.org and look through the council agenda from last night and find it there. It's an amazing recap of everything underway right now and some things that are coming, some things that have already been taken care of. And it gives you a good idea of how much is happening in Logan City. Pretty exciting time for Logan residents and all of us in the Valley. Mayor Daines, again, thank you for your time. And for listeners, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back in Hour 2 with Cache County Executive David Zook joining us for the County Hour here on KVNU Logan.
It's here, your one chance this year to get BF Goodrich tires at wholesale prices or even less during the Discount Tire and Automotive 4-day warehouse sale. Through Saturday only, Discount Tire has the lowest guaranteed prices of the year. So low that BF Goodrich won't let them quote prices on the phone. Get into Discount Tire and Automotive now to find the best deals on the BF Goodrich All-Terrain KO2 and the BF Goodrich Control TA. Every BF Goodrich tire at the year's lowest prices, but only through Saturday. Thousands of tires in stock and unbelievable financing too. Discount Tire's layaway lets you take advantage of these hot prices now with just 20% down, or choose 6 months no interest financing. Discount Tire and Automotive has the lowest prices, period. They scour the competition to be sure nobody beats them, online or in person. Open till 7 on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 6 p.m. on Saturday, or shop anytime, day or night at webtires.net. Don't miss the lowest prices of the year now through Saturday at Discount Tire and Automotive in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield.
Discount Tire. So much more than a tire store.
Jessup Insurance would like to invite you to attend a friendly, no-pressure, no-cost educational Medicare 101 meeting Wednesday, February 16th. Get to know Jessup Insurance as they guide you through Medicare, simplifying the entire process, all while enjoying a yummy dessert. Wednesday, 7 p.m., February 16th at Jessup Insurance. Call 213-3200. That's 213-3200 to reserve a seat.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services. Let us guide you.
It's the President's Day sales event all month long at Heritage Ram. There's never been a better time to find yourself behind the wheel of the most capable line of trucks in America. And right now, we've got great deals on all 2021 and 2022 Ram trucks. No matter what your pickup needs are, there's a Ram that's as tough as you are. Find out why Ram Trucks is the brand with the highest owner loyalty in the nation. The President's Day sales event, all month long at Heritage Ram. Your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
It's true, many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than thinking about retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, we agree, and we'd like to help. We're Edward Jones. Together, we can give your long-term retirement strategy the attention it deserves. Contact your local Edward Jones financial advisor to get started today. Call 1-800-ED-JONES. Visit edwardjones.com or stop by any of the 7 Edward Jones offices in Cache Valley.
News Talk KVNU, Logan, the voice of Northern Utah, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.